Arpeggios, let's tackle them today. So, lead guitar really consists of three elements. Those elements would be scales, intervals, and arpeggios. Now, if you've been following my channel chronologically, a lot of what I've taught so far on lead guitar has been scales. So I want to jump us into, today we're going to look at arpeggios. What is an arpeggio? Well, an arpeggio is a chord that we break up. One of the simplest arpeggios might be to take like an E minor, take an E minor 7 because it's just one finger. And just play it back and forth. Taking those notes up and down, instead of playing the notes all together, is technically an arpeggio. So take a C major chord because the thing about this open C chord that I'm playing here is that it's voiced 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5. Generally, for lead guitar, that's the way we're going to usually want to play our arpeggios. Not usually going to want to skip around. If you are skipping around, I mean, you could call that arpeggios and the line's blurry, but a lot of times it's going to have more of the effect of playing scales or intervals. So even if you're thinking arpeggio, but in general, the way we're going to play arpeggios, especially within a lead context, is 1, 3, 5. Okay, and then once you're done, so when you get to top, like that 5, you go back to the 1 of the next octave, you keep going. So you can play arpeggios within a rhythm context, and I want to discuss that first. I've been thinking of this song. By Boston. And I'm not sure if I'm playing exactly right, but I'm close. But it's a D sus. And you hear all the notes all ring. That's really what we do when we use arpeggios for rhythmic context. I don't know what that C chord. I'm not sure which string combinations he's using exactly, but that sounds good to me. It's a C add 2, G over B, that's a G chord. Another one I was thinking of when I was preparing for this video was the Van Halen song. So that's an arpeggio sequence as well. That's used within a rhythmic context. The notes for that one don't ring out as much. So it's fairly easy though to play arpeggios where the notes ring. It takes a little more intention. It's not complicated, but it takes a little more intention to play them where the notes don't ring out. In other words, they don't bleed into one another. And that's what we're going to be trying to do within a lead guitar context. So, by the way, if you like the content that I provide on this channel, please hit that like and subscribe. It really helps me out. I appreciate it. So, I've been providing content on the Cage system. I got a video on that. And if you haven't watched the Cage system video or you don't know what that is, I would really encourage you to bone up on that first, because what I'm going to use to talk about these modes is going to reference those caged shapes. So with arpeggios, as we want to voice them so that it's 1-3-5, 1-3-5. If I take something like the C shape, I'm at the 5th position. I can. It's already voiced 1-1-3-5, 1-3, backwards. You know, and I'm letting them ring like a rhythm player would do. If I wanted to play that as a lead guitarist, I might lift up on each finger to get the notes to stop ringing after I've played it. So I'll hit that pinky one and I'll lift up. Now you might hear some, well, you're hearing some delay, but if you get some ringing going like that, yeah, then it's the right hand that needs to get a mute. What I generally do on the guitar for technique is my palm comes along and mutes the string that I've left. So I'm thinking of in terms of string crossing when I say I've left. So I'm going, you know, this way, and as I hit that 5th string, and when I'm ready to go to the 4th string, my palm is coming across and it's after it. It's above the string I've been hitting. So it'll end up covering the string that I came from, and it'll prevent the open notes from coming through. So that way you can pull off, and it's not going to do that. It's going to, because my palm's hitting it. So here's the that same C-shaped, it's an F major arpeggio. With that technique in mind, I'm also going to, you're going to see me lifting these fingers off after I hit the note. I'll go slowly, and this is the idea for lead guitar. In fact, I'm not even going to start it like this. I'm visualizing this shape, but I'm going to start it like a lead guitarist would. And I'm exaggerating my motions a little bit because I want you to see it, but I wouldn't move that exaggerated because if I need speed. Now I just habitually added the 5th on top. It just sounds good because again, these are chord triads. They all have a 1, 3, and a 5 in them. So faster. My right hand, I am alternate picking them. No matter where I'm going, down or up, I am making sure I'm consistently down, up, down, up, down, up, no matter what, okay? That's one way of playing your arpeggios. And I can play them pretty fast that way, believe it or not. So, and I'm going to do another video on technique and picking. But a little secret, if you don't want to wait for that video, is what I learned, a groundbreaking thing that I learned for alternate picking was from Paul Gilbert. If you watch some of his early videos, the one where he's got the pink guitar and he gets into alternate picking, and that was the magic. But I had to drill that stuff. I probably drilled it for 4 months before I saw a breakthrough. And it was one of the hardest things I ever worked on. I think it's something when you work on hard technique, sometimes you just have to push and push and push, and you're not seeing any results, but you keep pushing, and that's what I had to do with learning the alternate picking thing. But another way, the more common way to play these arps is to sweep pick. So I'm going to do another video on sweep picking too, but sweep picking would mean that I would do downstrokes. You hear my notes ringing? So I've got to do a better job with the mute, and I've got to do a better job, it's really the mute on my right hand. It's a matter of getting the timings right. Everything's going down. I still got some bass notes coming through, don't I? There we go. And then when I get to that extra note on the first string, I'll have to go up. And I would do, if I'm going backwards, I would do down. That's how I would play it. And then I'd start up strokes. So that would sound like at speed. So one thing you'll notice is I'm playing a pretty clean tone. I've got a little ambience on there, But I'm on the second position of this Silver Sky, and the cleaner tones, these out of phase positions help. Also, they help me to hear my attack. If you can play these things with clean tones, then you'll be a master at playing it when you add more compression or gain to your tone. So I wanted to try to show this video with cleaner tones just so that we can see what's going on. You're basically trying not to hide behind the effects as you learn this stuff. So that was a C-shaped major arpeggio, okay? So we can do this with all 5 of our shapes. And if we were to do, let's take an A shape. I'm at the 5th position here. Now, if you just played it straight like I'm playing the chord, well, you're not getting that full arpeggio sound. You're not getting, here's the sound we want. Okay, so we'll change positions to the 3rd position or 4th position just because I can. And I like this position also. It's warmer. And it's the John Mayer position. But what I did is I added the 3rd there because this chord is not naturally voiced as 135, 135, 135 like the C shape and the G shapes are. The A, E, and D shapes are 1 and then it goes straight to 5. So I wanted to add the 3rd in. So I'm playing D major arpeggio, so a D and an F sharp. So I have 2 notes on that string. And then I got a straight line going across 3 strings. Now I'm rolling my finger, and you see me doing it with my middle finger. I could do it with my 4th. I even saw a guitarist, and I messed around with this, do this type of fingering. More exaggerate. But you can't get any speed off of that. But it's a nice clean way of playing them. And I'm going to add this extra D on top. It's back to the 1 before I descend or. And this time you see me rake it. I'm doing that economy or sweep picking. Okay. Actually, I think I missed it and hit a D flat instead of a D. That's what I gotta do. Let me try to alternate pick it. I missed the last note. I'm not editing anything out, so you can just see me and my, even my weaknesses. Okay, so I think I'm hitting the D sharp or the D flat again on that one. But that's an A shape. Let's move on. I'm going to do all the shapes real quick. There's only 5, right? So take our E-shaped A chord. This one's not voiced with the 3rd, so I got to find a way to put that 3rd in there. That's how I would do it. A, C sharp. So I got to, whenever you have 2 notes on the same fret, different strings, you want to kind of roll it. That's the only, and especially when you're doing the sweep picking, okay? If I'm alternate picking, I'm just thinking down, up the whole time. It's a little easier. There's another one. And I'm going to add the 3rd on top. I almost feel like that's a little more difficult for me at those little middle speed areas versus the very slow and the very fast. And that's me alternate picking. So if I was to sweep pick it, and what I'll do is, I don't normally think about the first 2 notes methodically or systematically, but like Frank Gambale, because there's even numbers of notes here, he would do up as the first stroke. If you don't know Frank Gambale, he invented sweep picking, and really in something called economy picking, which is close to sweep picking. It's really more doing the same thing for scales and intervals, not just arpeggios. So, but it's really, any economy picking would be like sweep picking for lines that have more than 1 note a string. So that's what's really happening on this first one is he would go up and then down. And then you got downs, down, 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 up, down, and then now he'd probably also change the fingering of the fret hand to make it even to make it easier with the right hand. He'll a lot of times changes shapes on the left hand to make that right hand just be able to just do this as much as possible. So I'm not doing that. That's me alternate picking it. Gotta get that bottom cleaner. There we go. And if I sweep pick it, that time I hammered on the first two notes. You can get away with that, especially when it's at a fast rate. So that's the A shape. You'll see I'm adding the third, I'm adding the third, otherwise it's the same. So for a D shape, that's how I'm doing it. I could also do that. I just have to find a way to add the third in because this one's voiced 1/5. So either that or I like the first one better, which that one's almost the same as that C shape we did earlier. So I rarely play the D shape because the C shape one yields exact same pitches and it's easier to finger. So I won't spend any more time on the D shape. So G shape, I probably never do the G shape because the E shape covers it, but I'm messy with it, but I don't need to do it. If I wanted to end on there, I might go to that C. I can do it either way. So I think that, yeah, that covers all the basic shapes for the majors. And you can do minors too. So E shape. You're gonna add the third in. I added a third on top too. Sweep picked version, alternate picked version. I'm going to go to the neck pickup just so you can hear it. You just saw me shift it up. That's all I did. So we're going to get to that. Actually, you saw that me shifting someone with the opening exercise that I did. And that's what I'm working you towards. So that's the E shape, a D shape, or A shape. It's a D minor, A shape. I'm at the fifth position. There's the third. I got to add it. I could be doing that too, but this is good, better fingering. Try to add the D on top. I bet you when I play it faster, I'll probably be at risk of playing the D flat again. Yep, I think I did. I even tried to avoid it. I was alternate picking it. Here's sweep picking it. So get the idea. You can hear Yngwie doing stuff like this. I'm no Yngwie, but I'm at least in the ballpark, I think, with these Arps. So that's an A shape, and you know, if you follow my cage system teaching, you know that with bar chords, we only have D, E, and A shapes with minors. So I've covered, let's see, A and E. I haven't covered D, and really the D shape, just like the majors. Actually, this one is more valuable. Never mind. I do like that one. And this one's going to be, this one's more valuable. I'm doing 1, 3, and then what I really like to do is do a C-shaped version now. When you might say C-shape, you said in the cage system that you can't do C-shaped minor chords because you'd have to move that one and that one. Well, that's true when it comes to chords, but not for arpeggios. I can actually, here's what the G minor arpeggio looks like, C-shaped. Just like the major arpeggio, that's C-shaped, the minor one's beautiful. It's easy to finger. Whoops. So that This is the sweep picked version and the alternate picked. So you can see that's not much different with my playing. I'd be curious in the comments if you hear one sounds better than the other, or if you even notice a difference. So alternate, sweep, whoops, started the alternate picking on the way back. So those are all of the triads going through your caged shapes, major and minor. Now you can also get into the sevens with Arps. I'm going to show you those. I'm not going to go beyond sevens. This will be a long video, number one. But number two, once you get beyond that octave and get into ninths, 11ths, and 13ths, arpeggios start to be more like scales because they become 5-note. Think of the pentatonic scale, that's a 5-note. And in fact, and I'm going to do a future video on this, but the major 6 arpeggio is the same as the relative minor 7 arpeggio. C major 6 arpeggio, same as A minor 7 arpeggio. It's 4 notes. Am I right? Yeah, 4 notes. It would sound like a pentatonic scale. It's a way to cheat the pentatonic scale. I'm going to do a separate video on that. I'm not going to play it right now, but these things start to sound scalar, especially as we get bigger. And that one's a 4-note, but it's just 1 note shy of the pentatonic, has all the notes of the pentatonic except 1. So it's going to remind you of the pentatonic if you tackle it. But I'm not going to do that one today because that's a separate video. But let's work on sevenths. So I'm going to start with the A shape. If you know, I'm down here at 3rd position for this, but if it just stretches too much, take it up higher. You can always do that on the guitar, especially when you're starting off. So here's a C dominant 7th chord, and I gotta voice this 1, 3, 5, 7, and the chord is 1, 5, 7. Whoops, 1, 5, 7, 3, and 5. So I gotta revoice it so that all the numbers are sequentially ascending and sequentially descending. So 1, 3, 5. There's a 7, 1 or 7. And then there's a 1, okay? And then there's a 3, 5, 7. I definitely swept picked that. That was an alternate picked version. The key for my alternate picking, part of it is I got that tight mute on, where that palm is just covering whatever string I came from, okay? I definitely tighten it up, get in there, so that I'm not getting open strings come through. Alternate picking it. Sweep picking. Hard thing about sweep picking is making sure your rhythm is even. Even on some of those lines, you know, they're so easy, that straight line across. And if you hit 2 notes a string, you have to alternate pick a little bit or hammer on. The rhythms need to be even. So that's something to work on with the metronome. So that's the A shaped, and let's try an E shaped. I'll do down in the 5th position. I'll do this is A7. So it's really that one. There's 2 7s in this chord because you could play it the 7th on the 4th string, or I can add on the 2nd string. I got both of them in here that time, but I can just, now I took one of them out. So I'm gonna add, I gotta add all those in because it's gonna cross 2 octaves. So it's gonna be 1, 3. So remember, because this chord's voiced 1, 5, I gotta add a 3, okay? It's gotta be 1, 3, 5, 7, 1, 3, 5, 7. So 1, 3, 5, 7, 1, 3, 5, 7. I could do ring finger or pinky, 1, 3. That's alternate picking it. It'd probably be harder for me to sweep pick that because there's so many places on that where there's 2 notes a string. got it. I don't know how. Don't ask me to analyze that and slow it down. I'll try it real quick. So down, up, and then I start my sweeps. I should have started it up, by the way. If I up, down, down. Let's see, you can get 2 downs as you cross strings. Up, down, 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 up. See, I got an alternate pick in the middle of it. Down, up, or I'm sorry, down, down, up, down, up. Okay, so that's kind of what I did. But again, I'm going to do a separate video on sweep picking. I don't want to distract us with that. But this one has another fingering that I don't use very much, but when I first learned it, I did this one too. On the 3rd string, you could go there to grab your 5, and then there's your 7, and then whoops. That's a little easier versus if I had to grab a subset of the line. I think it's a little easier. I'm not really sure. But anyhow, that's the E shape. The first one is the one I prefer. Context is king. So that's E. I did the A. I'm trying to keep track as I show you these. I'm not working off of any notes today. The D shape. 1, 3, 5, 7, 1. I never do this one because I can do the same thing from the C shape. So let's go to that. 1, 3, 5, 7, 1, 3, 5. Notice I went down and grabbed the notes that are below the root. When you hear me saying those numbers, I'm saying scale degrees. Okay, that's what I'm not, those aren't finger numbers. You know, this is a G chord, it's a G7. It's based on, okay, it's based on that. And then there's a 3rd and a 5th on top. But that's how I'm numbering things. I might have to practice this one more. It's the idea. I'm alternate picking that, by the way. That's me sweep picking it. I feel like I'm a little rougher on the sweep. All right, so that's the C shape. G shape. Let's see, I don't think I need to do much with this one because E shape's going to cover it, but there's a straight G bar. Even though you can't really play a good G7 bar unless you can mute strings, and you could try, let's see. Oh, I missed the note, but this is a 8th position, or actually you'd call it a 5th position because it's the top of your hand. It's a C7, it's a G shape, arpeggio. I'm starting with the 7. See, that's how I normally do that one. See, a lot of these shapes are going to depend upon what note I land on. See, I wanted to land on that, what is that, a B flat? So I'd have to think about what shape. That's what I'd do. See how you might use an arpeggio? You might stick it in between the scales, you know. Or I did. And I did something pentatonic. That's part of the C7. See? I added a blues pentatonic. So you can throw these in the blues. It starts to get shred-like, so beware. B.B. King fans aren't going to like that. The Pierce fans aren't going to like that. If you've ever heard Yngwie play the blues, he's got a blues album. it might be heresy for some of us. So he's definitely a more player. So that covers your sevenths for at least majors and minors. Okay, this video is getting long, so another video I'll cover diminished and augmented. Those are good ones, but they might not be as used. They're a little more specialized, let's just say it that way. I use diminished more than I use augmented. I've been starting to get into augmented more lately. So, but what I want to close with was what you saw in the beginning of this video, and I want to explain what I was doing and prescribe it as an exercise, and I'll play it slower. What I was doing was playing through these shapes, trying to play across two positions of the, let's say I started with C major. Ascending C major, and then I would shift up and descend, okay? So that way I covered a wider span, I got a couple shapes in. And after I did C, I would jump the circle of fifths, and I was going in fifths. So I went from C to G, and G to D, D to A to E, E to B, B to F sharp, etc. And then from the F sharp, I went that flat side all the way back to C again. So practicing these things using a circle fifths, I think it's a great way. In fact, the circle fifths is just a great tool for practicing a lot of things. So, by the way, I do it on piano a lot because as you move through the circle, on your scales, only one note changes. And that means one black key gets added or removed, and everything else stays the same. So it's a way to practice things incrementally. We don't have black and white keys on the fretboard, so it might not matter as much from that angle, but it's still very useful. And a lot of our music is going to move in fourths and fifths. So what I did on the video to play it slowly is I started with the C major arpeggio, that A shape that I showed you in the beginning. And I shifted it so that, again, I got a no caged. If I know my cage system, there's an E shape at the 8th position. So I grabbed the top, that E, just because it's in range, okay? And then I descended down the E shape. And then I needed to go to the next letter, and I told you wrong earlier. I said I went in fifths. That's not true. I went in fourths. I could have went in fifths, so because the next one was F. So I went the other way on the circle, okay? And I grabbed a C shape, and I shifted to A shape, and then ideally I should hit that note. That's where I get sloppy sometimes on these. And then B flat. Now I'm on the next note. E shape, B flat. And then C shape, B flat, and then E flat, A shape, and then A flat. So again, it was E shape to C shape. When I dropped that C shape and I descended it, that's one way of doing it. Really more difficult, but it's another way. So that first way is my favorite, the way to descend it. Okay, so that's A flat, then D flat. Then I got the G flat. I did something different. That's a big stretch to try to do. I can do it, you just saw me do it, but what I did instead was I did a jump so I could get up to the C shape, an A shape, and then I could start E shape for B, and then E, A, D, G, C, that time I did a little variation, but I'm just shifting up. that's another way to practice your arps, is just to shift your shapes, okay? Be a shape shifter. I almost missed that. I did miss it, but you could do that with minors as well. So arpeggios, I'm playing them fast, I'm shredding them, but they're very melodic as well. Don't lose the melodic thing. Millions of songs have melodies that use arpeggios, parts of them. We're tackling things that are more difficult, which is the shred way of doing it. It's more difficult than playing a melody, but melody is king. So, don't lose melodies. If you need a good melody in a song, arps are a big help, and arps also help us to see chord tones, and chord tones are a great starting point and a landing point because they resolve things, and they're like a point of more stability if they match the chord you're playing underneath. So you'll hear a lot of lead players talk about playing chord tones. Working on these arpeggios can help you visualize, see, and finger the chord tones, and you try to build them into your scale work. And see if I can give an example. I'm just off the cuff, but if I was in a key of C, I'm just playing scales right now. That's just an arp, just a triad. And then say we change chords. It's a G major. I didn't do it purely. That is not the arp. See, I can weave in and out of the arpeggios. That was a C major, and then I got out of it to the 6th. So as you are starting to see in my arp playing, there are some advanced or less obvious ways to play arps that I haven't covered in this video. I'm going to cover that in a future video, maybe my next one, where we'll take, I hesitate to call them advanced ways to approach arps, but they're less obvious. I don't want to call them advanced necessarily because I don't necessarily think they're harder, and sometimes they're easier ways to play arpeggios than what we've just tackled today. But what we've tackled today, if you can do it that way, what I'll show you in my future video on arpeggios, a lot of it will be even easier. It's just less obvious ways because I'm going to incorporate some different fingerings. I'm going to incorporate some string skipping. That's a big one. I'm going to try to do octave pairs, as the octaves jump, you're going to shift positions as you go up the fretboard, and we're going to combine stuff with tapping. Nuno Betancourt, Get the Funk Out, that's string, that he's doing that magic. He's got the string skipping and tapping for arpeggios. I've seen Guthrie Govan do stuff like that too. So it's really cool stuff. It's advanced, but it's not rocket science. If it was, I wouldn't be able to show it to you. So hey, again, if you like the content I provide on this channel, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching my videos. Take care.